Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast Radio.
Welcome back to Southeast Radio's Business Matters with me, Karl Fitzpatrick. My next guest started her career in makeup at 16 years of age. Now, just 10 years later, Aimee Connolly from Sculpted by Aimee has launched her own makeup brand, opened a store and academy in Dundrum, and has plans for international expansion. Aimee, I'd like to start the interview by finding out how your love affair with makeup began.
Hi, Karl. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so this is my 10th year. I started actually in work experience when I was in transition year, ironically because I didn't have anything organised. So I went into Benefit Cosmetics and I luckily was offered a job in Urban Decay, which is across the way in House of Fraser in the department store. And I worked there consistently every Saturday and Sunday. Thought I had the coolest part-time job in the world. And then I went on, so I finished my leaving cert, was still working in Urban Decay, and then made the move to MAC Cosmetics on Grafton Street in Dublin. During that time, I had started my degree, so I actually didn't study makeup. I actually studied commerce and French for 4 years, which I loved, but I did makeup on the side. And then it was when I graduated from that I was ready to do makeup full time. And
in those part-time jobs that you held over those few years, what did you learn about the makeup industry?
Everything, to be honest, because I didn't know a whole lot before going into it. I obviously loved makeup as a young girl, but in terms of an actual skill, I'd say I left a few customers in my first year looking a bit wonky as they left the stores, to be totally honest. But working in a counter, I always say, even from running my own academy now for my own students, like there's nothing like it. Like you get total access to a full range of products, so many different customers, different interests, different perspectives, different skill levels. It's amazing. It's probably the best thing I would say for any artist starting out. So that's where I learned everything, even in terms of confidence levels on how to like deal with customers or how to sell yourself. It was a total eye-opener.
So in terms of career options, what were the aspirations for a teenage Aimee Connolly? Or did you always intend to start your own business?
To be honest, really wanted to be a primary school teacher. So if you had asked me all through secondary school, I would have been like, I love kids, I want to be a teacher. And it was only really, I suppose, in my 5th and 6th year when I was, well, actually probably not even until I got to college, to be honest, when I was working freelance and running the business part-time while I was studying full-time, that I kind of realised, you know what, I actually love this. I love working for myself and I really love makeup. But I did always know in that sense that I wouldn't continue just doing makeup appointments. I always knew I was going to take it to a business level when I graduated, and thankfully it's worked out.
And in terms of developing your own makeup brand, how did you identify that there was a gap in the market for a new product?
I think that was probably part down to having so much experience with a range of products. And I kind of knew on from maybe my first year after college, my kind of signature style, and that I would consider as like a soft glam look. So I love multi-purpose products, ones that are easy to travel with, ones that are easy on the go. And that's kind of where I developed the direction of my brand from, I suppose. So my first product was an easy kind of all-in-one palette. And basically that just set the tone for the brand from then on. So that was probably the easiest part of the whole process, having worked with makeup for years prior to that.
Now, having worked for some of the big brands, of course, including MAC, you are now taking them on as a competitor. Were you daunted about trying to create awareness about your product in such a crowded space? And ultimately, why do you think you succeeded?
Definitely the saturated market. I mean, like there's huge amounts of competition, huge amount of ranges on offer. But I do believe there's space for everybody. And I think when you kind of identify what your brand DNA is. So for me, it's definitely having multi-purpose, easy-to-use products and making it achievable for the consumer. I think you can always set yourself and your own tone aside. Obviously, yeah, like I said, there's massive competition, but I do believe that if you are passionate and driven, that there is space for everybody to succeed.
Now, today's social media channels are saturated with influencers, but was this the case when you started the business? And how important was social media in building it?
So when I first started freelance, I had started a Facebook page. At that time, like Instagram didn't even exist, and it definitely wasn't anywhere near as saturated as it is now, and it worked really, really well, like organically. So at that time, I was saying recently in an interview that I used to run a competition overnight on Facebook, and you'd get like 3,000 followers, which is like, you know, quite a really good reach for something that was quite small in terms of what I was giving away. So I had kind of grown up with social media in that sense, and obviously then when it transitioned to Instagram, I jumped on that bandwagon, and there's no doubting it's a huge part of our business, particularly for online sales, so it'll always be a part of it.
And what are your thoughts about the sea of makeup artists and influencers that are dominating social media feeds today?
I think it's great. I think it's a great outlay for people to kind of show off their creative talents. And you definitely get a mix of those that love really heavy looks, and then you get some that basically are using it as a form of art, and then you get the more kind of modest makeup look. So I think it's a very positive platform for people to be able to showcase their own talents. Obviously, you get a lot of kind of keyboard warriors, as they're known, and negativity can come with that. But I do think ultimately the positives of social media outweigh the negatives.
And the latest craze I've heard is that some of these online influencers are now telling girls to shave half their faces before applying makeup.
Yeah, there's definitely some funky trends that have come along the way that I've seen over the years as well. I think Instagram will always have trends like that. It's like a spike of interest, a spike of engagement. Do I think there's any longevity in them? No. Influencers are obviously a massive part of today's social media world, and in terms of brands as well, and getting brands messaging out. But I do think that there's some disregarding to be done to certain trends that take to the market, such as shaving half your face.
Since your first product launch, how has the Sculpted by Aimee business developed in terms of the expansion of the product and service offerings?
Yeah, so we started with one SKU, and like I mentioned earlier, it was my first all-in-one palette. It was a trio palette. In terms of to date, we have 28 SKUs. So there's been quite a big jump in terms of the number of products that we have. And we have just launched in Boots as of this week, which is a massive milestone for me personally, because they were always a retailer that I was really sought after.
Now, as you said, you've just recently launched in Boots, but how did that particular opportunity arise?
So Boots is someone that I've probably gone after for the last year and a half, I'd say. They have a lot of processes naturally given the scale of their operation, so it just takes a bit of time. So I was very lucky that at the start of this year I met with the buying team, who were so lovely. They really got behind the product and they really believed in the brand.
So what did that process look like?
It involved a lot of late nights. No, Boots are amazing to work with. They just have a lot of paperwork like any massive retailer like themselves would. So it involved about 50 million forms and a lot of emails. But thankfully, yeah, the result now is that we're in store, which is just amazing. So it still is very much a pinch me moment.
Now, talking about milestones, at the age of 26, you must be very proud to have opened your first store in Dundrum earlier in the summer.
Yeah.
What prompted you to create your first bricks and mortar retail presence? And is it a model that you'll be looking to roll out to more locations?
So I suppose, given my experience from having worked with counter brands, I always wanted my own makeup brand to offer that 360 makeup approach, as I call it. So not only are you available online and in stores, you actually have that space or destination where you can bring people in, give them a pampering of a makeover or a makeup lesson, and have your own bespoke staff to give them advice or recommendations based on what works for them. So that was always something I was really passionate about. And when this unit became available in Dundrum, I absolutely jumped on it, because having a front-facing unit, even in terms of the academy, was something I always wanted. Whether it's something I'll roll out all over Ireland, I haven't decided yet. We're definitely enjoying our lovely hub, and it's very much a place of zen for us. It's going really well, but that's to be decided.
And of course, new product development will be crucial to the continued success of Sculpted by Aimee. So, do you use a particular process for developing new products? And have you many products planned for the next 12 months?
So we have our kind of biggest range of product planned for the last quarter of this year. We'll have our biggest launch to date actually in October, which is very exciting. So I think new product development is something that's always ongoing. Like you said, it's something that you need to keep up with. And I suppose I'm still very much on the train that I will think of an idea that I want to do for my brand rather than a trend that I think will work.
And Aimee, what are your plans to enter new markets outside of Ireland?
So the international expansion is a huge thing that's in my line of sight for the next kind of 18 months. So we're entering the Philippines in September. We are in talks with markets such as the UK for further expansion, and the Middle East actually, which is a great cosmetic market in terms of their interest in makeup. So they're kind of natural areas of expansion for us.
And from a long-term perspective, do you think that your focus will always be on makeup, or do you plan to diversify your business interests into other areas within the beauty sector?
That's a really good question. I think if we were to go anywhere, it would probably be into skincare. But for the moment, I'm definitely focused on the beauty element. I think there's loads more that I want to bring to Sculpted, and there's loads of opportunities we haven't even touched on yet. So for the moment, I'm going to stick to that and stick to what I know. But I definitely wouldn't say never.
And what do you see as the emerging trends in the beauty sector over the next 5 years?
I think trends are kind of making a 360. So I think we kind of went through a phase of like 2 years where the makeup trend was really quite heavy, more so known as the Instagram look. And I kind of think that things are doing a little reverse spin now where it's kind of coming back to more of a soft, glam, more natural approach. So I think that will stay for a while, and then God knows what other trends will come along.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Aimee Connolly from Sculpted by Aimee, and I've no doubt that international markets will embrace the Sculpted by Aimee brand.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.